You're welcome back to Hello Nigeria. It's time for us to talk about the big story of the day. We're looking at Nigeria post-recession, and we have a fantastic guest in the studio. No better person to talk about this than Barrister Osita Oparaugo. Is the CEO and founder of Footprints to Africa. He's very passionate about building SME platform in Africa. He's a graduate from Harvard Business School. He has a Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of Buckingham, United Kingdom, and several international certificates, a Merit Award winner in recognition of his selfless contribution to rural development. It's a pleasure and honor to have you here with us on Hello Nigeria.
Thank you, please.
Barrister.
Yes, indeed. It's great to have you on the show. And, very importantly, we were speaking about post-recession, what the expectations of people are. And I think it's excellent we're talking about this today, being Workers' Day, because the most affected, or the people who are very well affected by this, are the people, the grassroots, people in the, on ground,
people with
civil
small,
servants,
medium
people
businesses.
with small businesses as well. So workers, business owners, small and medium, enterprises. First of all, why so passionate about this? Because I know that you're interested in building SMEs, growing, that sector. Why are you interested in this?
First, before we proceed, during your intro, you had mentioned about Harvard Business College.
Yeah.
What I have is a certification on business development.
You just want to clarify that?
I just want to clarify.
Because you have people that, well, I understand.
That's it. Okay. I am very particular about SME because the SME all over the world is the bedrock of every economy. And unfortunately, they have been marginalized and abandoned in Africa. It's painful. No economy can grow without the SMEs.
They're the backbone and the engine.
In England, over 90% of companies are classified as SMEs.
Wow.
In the United States, of course, yes, we live in a digital world. In the United States, over 87% of companies are classified under SMEs. In Nigeria, I have a partnership. Footprint to Africa has a partnership with SMID and the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria to help build the SME base. There are no data. Let the truth be told.
But the Corporate Affairs Commission registers business, and you have the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Is that not enough source?
It's not about registering companies. How many of those companies are operational?
Exactly.
It's not like, okay.
Or are turning in a profit.
Exactly. It's not about
just register the name.
Yeah, register the name. Yeah. So how many of them are operational?
Yes.
So it's high time the government recognize that they have to put in place the enabling environment for the SMEs to grow.
When you talk about enabling environment,
yes,
what specifics are you talking about? We keep hearing that word as a buzzword, enabling environment, enabling environment. What are the specifics?
Road, the infrastructure. If you are, Nigerians are basically 60% farmers. If you are in Obomusho and you grow plantain, how can you bring it to Lagos? If you want to process it into plantain chips, which light are you going to use? What energy will you use? I was going to Kaduna off and on during the Abuja shutdown of the airport, and I noticed that the Kaduna textile has just gone down. The roofs are off.
It was a thriving business.
Correct. So the problem, if you go down to history, the problem we have in Nigeria today is about infrastructure, the decay of the infrastructure. So that is what these SMEs are suffering, unavailability to finance.
Loans at no single-digit loans.
May I just take a quote that, obviously I'm sure you would know that Richard Quest, international business correspondent for CNN, was in Nigeria.
Yes.
And one of the iconic statements, if I could put it that way, that he made about his visit to Nigeria was the fact that SMEs are thriving in Nigeria, not because of the government, but in spite of the government. He was quite impressed with young entrepreneurs in Nigeria. So there's a decay in the provision of infrastructure, but somehow, just in the way of the Nigerian spirit, SMEs we've seen a growth in SMEs, we've seen them thriving. Why do you think this is so? And how can they be better helped? Because, of course, now we cannot wait for the government anymore.
It's the survival. It's the survival. The people are hardworking. And then again, Nigeria has a youthful population.
True.
Over 60% of Nigerians are youths. So sometimes they don't want to fold their hands and wait for the government. They get in to do whatever their hands can do. So imagine if the government gives them support. Imagine if the banks are available to them. But remember, about 70% of SMEs have this family-owned structure, which makes it very difficult for them to approach the loan. Let's say a family of 20, family of 8, family of 9. So if the CFO is in my father's name, for instance, our father's name, it makes it very difficult for one man to go and tender it because the other children may not agree. So there has to be a way that the government will come in through SMIDAN to cushion these effects, to educate these people on how to do business.
So I have to take you back to this. You mentioned data earlier,
yes.
And we have tax institutes,
yes.
And people pay tax to the FIRS and
yes.
all of that. Is it not enough reason to be able to track businesses and people? Is that not a means to? And how important is it for us to really know how important is data and record keeping? Because a census is built for next year. We don't know if it's going to hold or not. We don't even know how many people we are in the country.
No.
You lived in the UK and you've lived in different countries all over the world. People have access to single-digit loans. One of the fears here is the hurdles before you get that. We don't have records.
Mm-hmm. No, the thing is simple. Census is not about business. You see, we have to separate it this time. Business is completely different. And majority of those people who pay taxes are corporate institutions. They are not the SMEs. I was opportune to discuss with someone in private from PENCON at the hierarchy of it, and I can tell you authoritatively that the PENCON Commission, okay, the funds that they have, the people that they have listed are like the A-list. They have no middle class SMEs, okay, under their pension scheme because they don't know where they are, they don't know who they are, they don't know how they operate. The Nigerian Bureau of Statistics can tell you, and they are free to challenge me and the institution that I work, which is Footprint to Africa. Nigerian Bureau of Statistics can tell you that there are 37 million SMEs operating in Nigeria. But let them come and face me on a debate to tell me how many of these SMEs are cobblers. How many of these SMEs make bread?
Exactly.
Let them give us specific and in which states and how they are located.
Apart from that, you know, we always say that everyone has a side hustle.
Yes.
So you have, because your income is not enough. Are those data captured in terms of the fact that, so for instance, I love, you know, bid making,
yes.
I have my full-time job, I'm bid making,
yes.
and I'm earning a profit from it. Of course,
yes.
I'm not paying tax
yes.
because people don't, I mean, the people are not paying tax. So how is that, like you mentioned, then captured by the Nigerian government? You know,
when you use the word tax all over the world,
yes.
the President of the United States presently has not released his tax returns.
Very true.
Once you talk about tax, businesses get jittery.
Uncomfortable.
Don't bring up the issue of tax in Nigeria when you have not provided the basic amenities for these businesses to stand. If you want to know how many businesses...
But it's a matter of law.
It's a matter of law, but also these people, they also think that it's a matter of law that you should give them good roads. They also think that it's a matter of law that you should give them electricity. Yeah. They think also it's a matter of law that when they pay you for a shop, that you're not going to come to demolish it after collecting money and you saw them when they built it.
But if you look at tax to GDP ratio, and it's important that we're talking about recession is part of our discussion.
Yes.
Tax to GDP ratio in Nigeria, we're doing single digits.
Yes.
Tax to GDP for a neighboring country like Ghana is almost 20%. So
yes.
we're looking for all that. We're looking at diversifying,
yes.
looking for new revenue streams.
Yes.
Can't the government, would you encourage the government to tap into and encourage SMEs to thrive so that they can take taxes for them? And at what point would you say the government has the right to tax cobblers and hairdressers?
Okay, exactly. You mentioned about recession.
Yes.
And post-recession. I wouldn't have talked about post-recession because we are not there yet.
Despite what the CBN governor said?
No. The CBN governor and that institution called the CBN is the problem why we are still in recession. They have come out with fantastic measures, fantastic ideas on how to get out, but they are jittery. They come out with this plan, they post it to the world, people buy into it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, they think it's not working, they go back again. So when each time they go back, they send a signal to the investors. Let me tell you last week.
Investor confidence.
Let me tell you last week, the CBN came out with this fantastic idea to float Naira on the forex exchange open market. Fantastic. Let me tell you what it will bring to Nigerian economy. In the next 3, 4, 5 weeks, okay, they're going to see a lot of traders, a lot of investors buying in, and it will drastically drop the Naira. But don't get deceived. It's a sharp decline, but it's not going to be unsustained. Because there are about 4 billion unmet, 4 billion debt that is unmet. So those people will now quickly go to this open trade, make use of it, buy it, and by the time the CBN sees it's dropped, and then they see it go back again, they will now come up with another design. But they should stick to it. What they need to do is...
how long are we going to keep doing this? Is it sustainable? Do we have enough
to keep
reserves
injecting
to keep
money
doing
into
this?
the market?
You see, in 2015, you can confirm from the Nigerian Export Commission, the Nigerian export declined to 59%.
Reasons?
Reasons being that the government has not given them, when this recession hit in, the government didn't give enough cushion
to absorb the
shock. And the CBN came up with that peg policy that completely destroyed the economy. Naira lost 70% of its value. Unemployment rose from 6% to 26%.
Wow.
That's what the present situation is on ground. But there is hope. Nigeria floated 1 billion bond on the euro market, which is currently trading at the London Stock Exchange at about 7.8% yield for 15 years. And it was 8 times oversubscribed. 8 times. So there is still investor confidence in the country if only the policies would be stable. So you don't send panic. Once there is panic in the mind of investors, they go.
They run. That's very true. Now let's talk about Footprint for Africa and where you position yourself to bridge this gap that you've identified between small and medium scale, businesses and the government, and how they can still thrive, like, borrowing Richard Quest's word, in spite of the government, and hopefully in the near future with support from the government.
Yes. Footprint to Africa is an investment bridge company. Footprint to Africa. Not footprint to Nigeria. So we are actively involved in other African economies. We're actively involved in Kenya. I spoke about SMEs, and we have partnered with few institutions in Kenya from their interview on K24, and it's yielded a lot of results for the government.
Good.
We have an understanding with the Democratic Republic of Congo that was signed in 2015. Just 2 weeks ago, I was the Minister for Agriculture in Ghana, and we are partnering with the government of Ghana through the Ministry of Agriculture. They say is grow what we eat, to develop the SMEs, to develop and bring investors into Ghana. So what we do is Footprint to Africa will stand in the gap. We are like, some people call us facilitators. Good. In America, they say we are deal makers. But we stand as a bridge between that investor and the opportunity in Africa. I tell you, on Friday, a Chinese company contacted Footprint to Africa, and he said to us they are looking for 150 teachers to come to China on a 3-year contract. But they're looking for teachers from South Africa and Morocco. So between tomorrow and Friday, we will get involved with the authorities in Morocco and in South Africa to bridge this investment or business opportunity. So this is what Footprint to Africa is.
How can young entrepreneurs listening, and I'm sure Footprint to Africa, being Footprint to Africa, to act as a bridge? Some of them have fantastic ideas. They have big dreams. And all they need is information. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is powerful.
Yes.
And you happen to have a lot of this information that would be beneficial to the Nigerian economy and to a lot of individuals watching this show right now. So how can they contact you?
We are open. Footprint to Africa is open on www.footprinttoafrica.com. But apart from contacting us, we have created a platform that you don't need to contact us for you to succeed. It's called the Market Square Africa. On the Market Square Africa, basically what we do is
typical Market Square.
It's typical Market Square. You come from Ghana and you say, oh, I have a land in Ghana, I'm growing cocoa, I need someone to come bring funds, let's turn it into, you know. So it's a word of collaboration.
Great.
What I say to young people out there is finance is not available. It's not readily available. Okay? So what you're going to do is this. Don't stick to your plan. If you have a plan, bring your friends in. I have friends from Mexico, 9 of them, they came together, brought $10,000, $90,000. They started real estate business. Today they've built over 370 houses.
Wow.
So if you are listening to me and you've got a very fantastic idea, but you haven't got the finance, look for your friends. Put your idea on the table. Don't do Osita, Oparaugo and Sons Nigerian Limited.
That's something we need to.
Yeah.
We need to dismantle that mindset in Nigeria.
Yes, remove that mindset in. Bring Mr. A, bring Mr. B, bring Mr. C. Put your ideas together. Who's got the finance? Who's got the land? Who's got access to finance? Or who's got access to the machineries? Mind you, if you're also operating in Nigeria and you're an SME business owner and you're looking for machines, Footprint to Africa and Bosch have signed a partnership agreement in their packaging section to let SMEs in Nigeria have machines leased to own for 5 years.
Wonderful.
We just signed that in South Africa.
So you've mentioned some fantastic information. Where can people get this information from?
On our platform.
On the website, and that's www.footprinttoafrica.com. Fantastic, wonderful. Congratulations on the work you're doing.
Thank you
and we look forward to having more, investors coming to Nigeria, because there's so many young minds with so many fresh ideas.
No doubt about it.
Not just in Nigeria, like you mentioned, but in Africa as a whole. And I hope we can also learn from other African countries that you've visited, that you've worked with, even in Nigeria. Thank you so much. We've been speaking to Barrister Osita Oparaugo, the CEO and founder of Footprints to Africa today. Special day for workers. In case you are saying that the